Hello, Saber fan, Shamim here. I've got something very special to review for you guys today. This lightsaber has been in my collection for close to a year now, but I realized recently that I had never actually done a proper video review of it in any way, shape, or form, which is something that needed to change because this lightsaber is very precious to me and is one of the jewels of my collection, and I wanted to share it with you all. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber from Star Wars: A New Hope, Episode 4. Um, a little bit of history on this prop. As I'm sure some, if not many of you may know, a lot of the props, and especially the lightsabers from the original trilogy, were made by the prop department using found parts. Meaning that they didn't machine a lightsaber design from scratch and say, hey, look, it's a lightsaber. What they did instead was they went out to various places and they picked up bits and bobs and pieces of junk here and there, camera parts, old World War II, World War One grenades or whatnot, some sync parts, calculator bits here and there, just a whole bunch of random junk. Glued it or screwed it together and bolted it together and say, hey, look, it's a lightsaber. So that's how they came to this design, Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber. And if you remember from the movie, most of his lightsaber, if not all of it from top to bottom, was dirty, was rusted, weathered. It looked like it was appropriate to someone who'd been living as a hermit in the desert for 19 years. That lightsaber design had never really spoken to me on a deep level. It wasn't until Episode 3, nearly 30 years later, when Obi-Wan Kenobi had his Revenge of the Sith lightsaber, that I really fell in love with that design. While the Revenge of the Sith prop was inspired heavily and based upon the original Alec Guinness prop, it was, unlike the original prop, machined from scratch. It was not made using found parts. It was not made to be an exact replica of the Alec Guinness prop. It was instead machined from scratch and made merely to resemble, in vague senses, the overall aesthetic and design of the original Alec Guinness prop from A New Hope. And I loved it. I loved the circuit card. I loved the shape. I loved the two-tone brass and copper thin neck. I loved every detail about Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber from Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. I loved how clean it was, as opposed to the weathered and rusted version that we see in Episode 4. So it wasn't until relatively recently, in the last year or so, that when I started doing research on Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber, that I found what prop makers and people in the community have been referring to as an as first built by A New Hope lightsaber, AFBB. This is a term I hadn't heard before, and it referred to a version of Obi-Wan Kenobi's Episode 4 A New Hope lightsaber that was made from found parts, but that was clean, that was polished, that was glossy, that was chrome plated. It was basically, canonically, what Alec Guinness's lightsaber may have looked like if instead of the Revenge of the Sith made from scratch lightsaber, he had made his A New Hope lightsaber from scratch. Or he had made the A New Hope lightsaber at the beginning and what it may have looked like when he first built it, the as first built by AFBB. And I fell in love with that design. I loved the shape and the sizing and everything. Even though the shape and the sizing of the Alec Guinness prop I didn't like, when I saw it clean and glossy and polished, I fell in love with it, as opposed to the weathered and rusted version. So that's how I came to know about the As First Built By edition, which is something that the prop community and the lightsaber community has sort of invented, as far as I'm aware. And then I started looking for, someone who had made one. I wanted to see, is this something that I could get for myself? And that's how I stumbled across a man named Roman Gomez and his website, Roman's Props, the company Roman's Props. I was a little turned off at first by the website, which I personally found to be a little difficult to manage. Not my own design aesthetic if I were designing a website, but I'm not a computer graphics person. And I was also shocked that there only seemed to be like one or two lightsabers on his thing. Like, he's not a Saber Forge or an Ultra Sabers of Raiders Vault who has, 15, 20 different lightsaber designs that he's selling. That isn't his focus. Instead, what he has focused on, which I think fills a very unique niche within our community, is to identify every single one of the vintage found parts that were used to construct Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber in A New Hope. Not only identify, but then to go out and find one of those vintage parts. He has eventually found all of those vintage parts and replicated them directly from an authentic vintage piece. Meaning that the Roman's prop Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber that you see before you is one-to-one accurate to what Alec Guinness would have held in his hand, minus the rusting and the weathering. Which is amazing. It's also very expensive. It's empty. There's no electronics in it. It ran about $450, $500, something like that. That was for the chromed version. He also offers it in an unfinished version and a weathered finish. But I opted for the chrome finish because, as I mentioned, the as first built by design is what really spoke to me. So I wanted to get that. Let's talk about this lightsaber for a bit. It is very heavy. This is by far the heaviest lightsaber hilt I've ever held in my hands, and it's empty. It doesn't have any batteries or soundboards or light LEDs in it to weigh it down further. It's completely empty. And it weighs like 2 or 3 pounds. It's very, very heavy. But it feels so right. It feels so real. And of course it's real, because this is exactly what Alec Guinness would have been holding in his 60-year-old hands, what would have been hanging from his belt in all those scenes. And suddenly you have a much greater appreciation for him being able to fight at all with not only this, but then God knows how heavy the pole was that was sticking out of it. No wonder he was only going, in A New Hope. You can't move much faster than that, it's so heavy. It's so beautiful. All right, let's take a look at it from the top to the bottom. We have an emitter. It is chromed. On the outer ring is chromed, and then we have an inner ring around the right there with all the holes in it. Those holes, you can see my finger going around there on the left side. Those holes shine through, or go all the way through. And then on the inside, there's a smaller black ring that's kind of thick. And then there's a little silver circle right in the middle. That silver circle is the tip of a threaded rod which runs the entire length of the hilt, and it is what is holding all these pieces together. All those pieces are threaded onto this rod. So I could unscrew each of these components and individually thread them off of the rod, but I won't do that because I like it as it is. It's a lightsaber, wee. Here we have the brass thin neck. This is a wind vane design. Look at the detailing there. Authentic to the original prop. And unlike the Revenge of the Sith lightsaber, which has brass and copper toning to the thin neck, something that I kind of liked about the As First Built By version is that it is solid brass. We have the black grenade section here, which is gloss black. Part of the As First Built By version that I had Roman props do is to make it all gloss and shiny and chromed and polished, just to make it as clean as humanly possible, because that is something that really spoke to me of the Revenge of the Sith design, so I like that. And you wonder why it's called a grenade section. I wondered this for a long time before realizing that this section is literally part of an old grenade. Yeah. Which is kind of badass, that Obi-Wan's lightsaber has a grenade built into it. Yay, prop department, using old stuff. Here we have the Graflex clamp. You are all very familiar with the Graflex clamp. You've seen my Graflex videos, you've seen Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. You're all familiar with the Graflex clamp, but look! It actually has the word Graflex stamped across it. Which is something that, I haven't seen any other lightsaber prop replica have the Graflex clamp, Graflex stamp across the clamp like that. Say that 5 times fast. Because this was replicated from an authentic vintage Graflex camera clamp, it has the stamped Graflex logo around it, which is quite cool. So the Graphics 2.0 kit that you've seen me do some video reviews of lately, that doesn't have the Graphics logo. None of the other ones that you can buy from Custom Saber Shop or anywhere else have the Graphics logo. Roman's Props is the only one, as far as I'm aware, that has the Graphics logo because he replicated it from an authentic vintage piece. We've got the bubble strip that is also to be found on Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. And then we've got two little transistor greeblies there. I don't remember exactly where they come from, but one of the things that's nice about Roman's lightsaber, Roman's website, is if you go there, there's a very detailed tab there that has pictures and source information about every single piece from the original Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber, and it details their origin in the real world, where they come from, what they are. It's very, very cool for history buffs and lightsaber history buffs, so go give that a look. You'll learn quite a bit. You can see how shiny that chrome is in the light. I love it, and even the brass there is shining beautifully. Very nice. Lens flare, whee! J.J. Abrams. We got the gloss black booster section here. We've got a little bit of a gap between the booster section and the pommel, which is accurate to the original prop. Got the D-ring there, stainless steel, and then I believe this is some kind of sink or faucet part. I don't remember. Again, you can go and look it up exactly what it is. There's no pommel venting for sound because the original prop was not vented for sound. This is just exactly what it looked like when Alec Guinness had it in his hand, minus the weathering. There is a kit that exists on Roman's website if you want to install electronics into this to make it an FX lightsaber hilt. For now, mine is just empty. I bought it, as I said, about a year ago, and back then I really wasn't as confident as I am, now. In terms of my experience with installing electronics into lightsabers. So I was like, oh, there's no way in hell I'm going to try and install electronics in this lightsaber. That was a year ago, and now I've done quite a few installs in very difficult, tiny lightsabers. So I may, do an install on this at some point in the future. I'm not sure. I kind of like the idea of just having it be an empty prop, an empty shelf queen sitting on my desk. Without any electronics, but we'll see. At least I know now that if I wanted to put electronics in, I'm fairly confident that I could, which is more than I can say a year ago. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Roman Gomez is a superb human being. I've just from the few email interactions I've had with him, he has been incredibly friendly, incredibly helpful. When I originally ordered this from him, we had opted for sort of a matte black finish on the black sections. I got those parts in, and I really didn't like how the matte looked compared to the chrome. And I asked, is there any way that I could send these back to have them, gloss finished? And he was like, yeah, pay for shipping, do it, it's all good. Within a week or two, I had them back gloss finished. I assembled it. My God, I fell in love with it. I'm so happy with this piece. So he has just been incredibly helpful throughout the whole process. And speaking of process, I've emailed him recently asking, what else he's up to. And because I had been hearing rumors that he is doing a 1-to-1 screen accurate Graflex run. Having the lightsaber that Luke Skywalker used. And pre-orders are now up on his website. I'll include links below. But if you're interested in having a 1-to-1 screen accurate functional Graflex camera prop or camera replica, so not just a lightsaber, but something that you could put onto a vintage camera and have it flash and work, then Roman Gomez is the guy for you. Because as far as I know, he's the only one on the planet doing an accurate 1-to-1 screen accurate Graflex. So those pre-orders are up. And will be released sometime in the summer, I think, and details are on his website. But yeah, nothing on this lightsaber has been modified or adapted in any way, shape, or form, apart from making it clean. The weight, the look, the feel, everything is authentic. And I love that. I love the history behind it. I love the fact that This isn't an approximation. This isn't inspired by. This isn't anything like that. It is one-to-one accurate to what Alec Guinness may have built 19 years earlier, and then it got weathered and rusted over those 19 years as he was sitting in Tatooine. So I'm ecstatic. I love this thing. It is exquisite. It is gorgeous. I don't have enough good things to say about Roman Gomez as an individual and as a person who is filling a very small but very important niche within our community of providing these screen-accurate vintage replicas for our use. If you're interested in owning an Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber that is as close to a screen-accurate prop as you can get without finding and assembling all of those vintage bits yourself, Roman's Props is the way to go. I wholeheartedly recommend them to anyone with several $100s to drop. Yeah, it was kind of expensive, but I mean, so worth it. So worth it. Let me see. Anything else I want to say about this lightsaber, apart from the fact that it's beautiful and I'm in love with it? No. It's beautiful. I'm in love with it. I really don't have anything else to say. I could have just said that at the beginning and saved you 15 minutes of listening to me rant, but, I mean, by now, everyone who's logged on to or who's subscribed to my YouTube channel, they know that I like to sit here and rant about pretty lightsabers, so it's not like this is anything new. But if this is your first time tuning in, then I'm sorry that you had to listen to a 16-minute long rant about an Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber, but I hope that you got some interesting knowledge out of it and enjoyed it to some degree. I'm always sort of amazed by the number of people who find these videos enjoyable. I certainly enjoy talking about them, but I didn't think there would be 5-10 people, let alone all the thousands of you who have subscribed and and are interested in hearing me talk about them. So that's cool. And I appreciate all of your support, enthusiasm, and encouragement. It means quite a lot. And the more of that I get, the more I feel like doing videos. And I don't see myself stopping doing these lightsaber videos anytime soon. So that's unique in my video collection, that I don't have any sounds to debut or new blade colors to show off. This is an empty prop, and I don't usually do reviews of empty props, but I had to do this one because it is unique in my collection in that it is one-to-one screen accurate, minus the weathering, of course. But as I already mentioned, I don't like the weathered, rusted version as much as I like the clean, polished, as first built by. So there you have it, guys. As first built by AFBB, A New Hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber by Roman's Props. Links are below. Check him out. Give him a like on Facebook. I'll include his Facebook link below. He just opened up a Facebook page. And I'm so excited to see the new stuff that he's coming out with. Stay tuned. Thank you all so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.